Hello everyone, welcome to Tarun IAS. This is your host and host Shivam Shukla. So I am back with a new video, episode 12 in the series Top 75 Issues in News. Today's topic is Judicial Majoritarianism. The word may seem very fancy, but it is nothing new. You must have read about it in the newspapers, in the judgments. Sometimes when group of judges sit together to arrive at to decide the verdict of some constitutional issues, they usually the benches of 5, 7, 9 or 13 judges are formed, and the final verdict comes in the form of majority versus minority judgments. Okay, so through this particular concept, we will take a deep dive into whether this particular form of arriving at the verdict, that is majority verdict, is it is it logical, or is it worthy enough, does it comes under the constitutional purview, or is it really delivering justice. So we will look into the political issues and political judgments regarding this, and many views regarding this. So let's see one by one. First of all, why in news? Why did I choose this particular issue? Because this concept is very unique. You must have heard words like judicial activism, judicial review, and judicial overreach. This this particular concept is new with respect to the understanding of the polity concepts. Okay, so this can be asked anytime, even in the prelims, and as well as a separate question of 150 words or maybe 250 words can be asked in the mains also. So, and there is this famous article in the Hindu which appeared on this particular issue. There has not been much debate around this particular concept in India, but this can be asked anytime. Okay, so let's see why in news. So the recent Supreme Court judgment on demonetization came, and the constitutional bench upheld the government's demonetization order by the majority of 4:1. So 4 out of the 5 judges supported the government decision, and this way the decision based on the majority have come in other judgments also, like same-sex marriage, Suprio versus Union of India 2022 case, and electoral finance case, that is ADR versus Union of India 2021. Such cases, the legal status of such cases is also lying with the constitutional bench of again 5 or 7 or 9 or 13 as per the requirement of the and the graveness of the issue at hand. So what do you mean by this particular judicial majoritarianism? In judicial terms, this way of majority decision making is known as judicial majoritarianism. Means arriving at a particular verdict by the group of judges and through the rule of majority. Let's see the meaning of this particular term. Let's discuss the meaning and the concept in detail. So continuing with the why in news section, some concerns have been raised over this particular concept of arriving at the verdict, especially in the cases where the majority has arrived at the verdict via very narrow narrow pathway, in very narrow gap, like 5 of 4. In some of the verdict, the process of arriving at the a conclusion is very narrow. So it becomes very controversial whether people arriving at the verdict by a thin majority, is it justifiable, or it should be considered by a larger bench. Okay, so these concerns have been raised, especially in this demonetization judgment. This also was raised. Next, minority judgments challenge to RBI's acquiescence. Okay, minority judgment by the Justice Nagaratna has been acclaimed for challenging the RBI's institutional acquiescence to the सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. देयर वॉज दिस केस जिसमें आरबीआई के अराउंड पूछा गया कि डज इट डायरेक्टली कम अंडर द परव्यू ऑफ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, और इज इट ऑटोनॉमस बॉडी. सो अगेन हेयर the views put by the minority Justice Nagaratna has been critically acclaimed by the legal people and other fraternity. But so what is judicial majoritarianism? So we'll talk about the meaning of this. So what is this? It refers to a situation where important legal decisions are made based on the majority opinion of the judges involved. Whoever is taking decisions, the rule of the arriving at the verdict is this, ki simply is this, ki more than the 50% of the judges agree to a verdict agree to an argument or logical conclusion, then the majority of the judges will have to support that particular conclusion. So it seems to be very democratic and a more logical way of arriving at the decisions. And under this, what does majority opinion means? It means a judicial opinion that is joined by more than half of the judges deciding the case. अगर 5 लोगों 5 लोगों की बेंच है तो more than 3 should agree to the a particular judgment, and the other side who differs from the opinion of the majority is called the dissenting opinion. So dissenting opinion refer to the views or opinions expressed by the judges who disagree with the majority decision in a court case. So to simply define this particular thing, the outcome of a case is determined by the majority of judges agreement. Okay, majority of the judges are agreeing to something, that is the verdict. This is the way. Even if there are dissenting opinions from some judges, other judges might be disagreeing with the majority judgment, but finally they will have to agree, because this is the we have to arrive at a solution. So this concept is rooted in the idea that decision making process in courts should prioritize the viewpoint of the majority of the judges rather than considering all diverse perspectives equally. So this is kind of, even if it is arriving at a particular decision, but is it all inclusive, or is it giving way to other sides perspectives? So this is the point of debate here. So to simply define it in a line, judges goes with the majority even if some judges think differently. This is the phrase which you can use to describe this particular concept. Next, what is the constitutional link to the judicial majoritarianism? Does it have any constitutional basis? Yes, definitely, because as you can see on the board, the constitutional basis is Article 145 Clause 5. So judicial majoritarianism is based on this particular article of the Constitution. It requires a majority consensus for delivering judgments. Yes, Constitution has backing, is talking about majority consensus. Then judges have the freedom to deliver its dissenting judgments or opinions. So Constitutional says yes, we can arrive at the majority decisions, majority based decisions, but at the same time, those who are not agreeing to it, they have the right to express themselves explicitly, and whoever is even if some of the masses agreeing to the majority decision, they can definitely read the arguments of the other side also, right? So Constitutional has given us this space. Next is numerical majorities in constitutional interpretation. So Constitution talk about the important cases involving the substantial interpretation of the constitutional provisions. Okay, so Constitutional is talking about this, ki some of the articles or maybe the sections of the Constitution may require substantial level of interpretation from the judges. Okay, Supreme Court or maybe High Court judges. So constitutional benches consisting of 5 or more judges are formed. This is the current arrangement by the Constitution, given by the Constitution itself, the Article 145(4) of the Constitution. This particular information is useful for prelims also. Next, how formation of constitutional benches happens? It happens as per the Articles 145 Clause 3 of the Constitution, and these typically consist of 5, 7, 9, 11 or 13 judges bench. Okay, so Constitution talks about this also. Next is freedom to deliver dissenting judgments. So Constitution Article 145 also talks about the existence of the dissenting judgments or dissenting judges. So it allows judges to freely deliver dissenting judgments or opinions. This ensures a diversity of perspectives in judicial outcomes, whatever judicial outcome may be, but they should give space to every point of view which is being expressed in the process. So this is all about the constitutional position. What is the constitutional backing of this particular decision, this particular concept? Now let's talk about the judicial majoritarianism, the arguments in support of judicial majoritarianism. So there is this legal philosopher Jeremy Waldron. As this particular concept is new, there are not very much being said or written about this particular concept. So we will discuss it in brief, but I'll try to elaborate as much as possible. So Jeremy Waldron said for the reasons for choosing judicial majoritarianism, he says we have to maintain the efficiency, epistemic objectivity and equality through the fairness. So he has given 3 arguments. First is efficiency through the ease of decision making. Okay, if we won't support a particular majority rule, how will we arrive at the decisions? It is not a normal debate. You will have to give reasons and logics, proper legal backings, reasons and logics to arrive at a particular decision. Okay, but how to achieve 100% consensus? How to convince learned people who have different point of views to arrive at a particular decision? This will take a lot of time, and already judiciary is overburdened with the cases. Number of cases, pendency is very high, so they will have to be efficient. So to maintain the efficiency, even if this system is not much, not very much inclusive, but to arrive at a particular decision at the right time, in the minimum possible time, it is very much required. This particular judicial majoritarianism concept, giving a simple tool to arrive at the particular decision, and it's very democratic way also. Otherwise we can start questioning the majority rule party also, first past the post system also. We will have to have a system, and to maintain the efficiency. Next is epistemic objectivity through majority adherence. So it's like we are giving weightage, right? Like the mark system in the exam, the one who scores the best gets the recognition. This is the same thing. If most of the people, maximum happiness of the maximum number, if most of the people are agreeing to something, that must be the that must be considered objective and fair enough. So everything, this is the natural law also. Not everyone can be given equal space. Okay, sometimes we have to talk about the to run a society, we have to go by the decision which everyone, at least most of the people, agrees to. We cannot convince everyone to arrive at a particular consensus. That's why it is objective enough to adhere to the majority adherence. Next is equality through fairness. It's like it's the best way. If more than half of the people are agreeing to something, it should be applicable to the other, less than half chunk. Because if most of the people are agreeing to something, that's why that means they must have seen the positive side of it, and the positives of that particular decision are definitely more, good for the larger chunk of the people. So that should be accepted, logically, and that is considered fair. So these are the 3 logics given by the Jeremy Waldron. Next is argument in, again continuing the same argument. So he has elaborated that minority judgments are not to be being ignored. Okay, as judges as opposed to the legislator do not act on the hunches or popular perceptions. Okay, so he is saying कि even if a majority rule is good to arrive at the decisions, but at the same time minority judgment should be given that much space, because that is not based on the popular perception. These are the learned people. They are, along with the legal backing and legal logics, they are arriving at a particular decision, and they are following the principles of natural justice. That's why even if they are not dissenting, even if they are dissenting, they should have a say in the judgment also. Then judges are experts of law and are aware of the arguments for and against the impugned matter. Whatever matter is in question, as judges are learned people, they understand they empathize with both the sides, the argument for and the against of the issue in question. Third is judicial majority may fall into either methodological fallacies or may be limited by their judicial hunch. Okay, so he is saying in the same direction कि कई बार वो भी judicial hunch या फिर fallacies में चले जा सकते हैं just because of the popular perceptions, but this should be kept as as isolated as possible. उनको they should follow the principles of the natural justice, being immune from the popular perceptions and their own biases, right? Next is differences in judicial decision when all the judges on a particular bench are subjected to the same set of facts and laws can be attributed to a difference in either the methodology adopted or the logic applied based on the subjective experiences and prejudices. That's what I am talking about. Ki, or if they and the facts remain same, facts to a particular issue remains same, and laws are natural, or whether natural or maybe artificially created, if they both are the same, okay, we have the rule book and we have the situation and the facts of the situation. But whatever decision we arrive at depends on our own personal experiences, our own personal biases, and our own subjective experiences. So there is the possibility that judges will always dissent on something based on your personal biases. So now let's talk about the arguments in against this particular concept. So first is, judges are experts of the law, so their decision should be based on facts, okay. So judges have a legal expertise and understand the arguments involved. So question arises as to why judges rely on numerical majorities without debate, unlike in representative bodies, okay. So arguments against say ki, why do we have to arrive at a numerical majority? Why should we consider numerical majority? Because judges are the learned people, they can be convinced, okay. They should understand the graveness of the situation, they should go into the facts and the deep background of the things, and they should empathize with the issue, and they should definitely arrive at a particular consensus, not without debate and all, okay. So judges are not people having debates in a particular competition or maybe in a representative body. They are deciding the fate of some people involved, some stakeholders involved. So they should be open minded enough to set aside their biases around, and should arrive at a particular decision with consensus. So this particular thing is saying this, why using mathematics to arrive at a particular decision if you are learned enough, okay. So this logic is being given. Next is scope of judicial hunches. So the arguments against also say about ki judges are only humans, okay. They may be full of biasness, personal experiences, their the way they are arriving at a particular verdict through by applying what kind of methodology, what kind of logic, and their personal biases. So there is a chance of personal hunches and personal biases being incorporated into the final verdict they are arriving at. So majority decision may contain errors or limited by the subjective hunches, okay. So this is the second argument against the judicial majoritarianism. Third is meritorious minority decisions are ignored sometimes, okay. So with example author has substantiated here ki sometimes which the minority decision which we are ignoring, okay, that might be very very substantive, and it is getting ignored by the majority just because they do not understand the foresightedness of that particular dissenting judge, okay. Sometimes it has happened कि मतलब पास्ट में कभी कोई डिसीजन दिया किसी जज ने डिसेंटिंग वे में, बट बाद में जाके सुप्रीम कोर्ट का ओवरऑल स्टैंड चेंज हुआ रिगार्डिंग द अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द इश्यूज. फॉर एग्जांपल फंडामेंटल राइट्स वर्सेस उसकी डिबेट आपने अगर पढ़ी है, डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ स्टेट पॉलिसी, ठीक है, तो इस पे कई बार स्टैंड चेंज हुआ है अलग अलग टाइम पे. तो इवन जुडिशियरी हैज ऑल्सो इवॉल्व, सुप्रीम कोर्ट हैज ऑल्सो इवॉल्व. तो यहाँ पे minority decisions cannot be ignored. So in judicial majoritarianism, strong dissenting opinions accept little weight. तो यहाँ पे ये अगेंस्ट में बोल रहा है कि भाई मेजोरिटी का रूल हो जाता है, तो जो डिसेंटिंग जज क्या बोल रहा है इस पे भी कोई ध्यान नहीं देता. Very less little weight is put, though it is mentioned in the constitution, but वो कितना regularly report किया जा रहा है, लोग उसको debate कर रहे हैं कि नहीं कर रहे हैं, that is also very subjective. So यहाँ पे उन्होंने एग्जाम्पल कोट किया है कि डिसेंटिंग ओपिनियन ऑफ द जस्टिस HR खन्ना इन ADM जबलपुर वर्सेस शिवकांत शुक्ला, दैट इज द फेमस केस ऑफ इंदिरा गांधी, वेयर ही अपहोल्डेड द राइट टू लाइफ एंड पर्सनल लिबर्टी, is a prime example in case of this case of dissenting judges which are very meritorious and very remarkable. Next important example he has given is about the Justice Subba Rao's decision in the Khadak Singh versus State of UP case, where he upholded the right to privacy. So at that time, all the judges did not agree with something called right to privacy, because privacy was not such an important matter in those times. But now when we read this particular judgment, particular view of the Justice Subba Rao, it is considered very remarkable in the and a legend. So this is where he has highlighted, the author has highlighted, author of the particular article has highlighted कि कई बार मेरिटोरियस माइनॉरिटी डिसीजंस भी इग्नोर किए जा सकते हैं. जैसे एक और एग्जांपल यहाँ पे दिया है, राइट टू प्राइवेसी, इट रिसीव्ड द जुडिशियल स्टाम्प ऑफ अप्रूवल इन द केसी पुट्टास्वामी केस. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे उन्होंने बोला है कि कैसे खड़क सिंह के केस में दे मेंशन्ड अबाउट राइट टू प्राइवेसी, एंड आफ्टर सम 40-50 years KS Puttaswamy case made it a fundamental right. Okay, so he is taking the example of this particular case to support his argument. Final important argument against using this particular judicial majoritarianism is ki impact on the dissent rate. Sometimes this particular argument of the majority may try to suppress the dissenting voices of even in the judiciary also. Like during the emergency in 1976, the rate of judicial dissent was very less, 1.27%, and in 1980 it increased to the 10.52. So this is kind of ensuring autonomy of the judges itself, independence of the judges itself, कि वो particular regime में उस टाइम कौन है, उससे डर के अपना व्यू खुल के ना रख पा रहे हों. तो यहाँ पे डिसेंट रेट का उन्होंने बात किया है कि अगर judicial majoritarianism is, if it is encouraged in the society, then there is this chance. जैसे इमरजेंसी का एग्जांपल दिया, तब डिसेंट को दबा ही दिया जाता था, उतना फ्रीक्वेंटली अपने आप को कोई एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर रहा था, तो द डेटा वाज 1.27%. एंड इन 1980 when more equal government came into power, the dissenting thing got raised to 11%, 10.5%. So the presence, and also the presence of Chief Justice on the benches affect the rate of dissent also, as with lower dissent rates observed in such cases. तो यहाँ पे भी वही hierarchy है. तो he is saying कि जिस केस में उस बेंच में अगर चीफ जस्टिस भी बैठते हैं, तो काइंड ऑफ उनको उनसे सीधे टकराव अवॉइड करने के लिए judges try to avoid their dissenting voices, and they try to avoid writing the dissenting judgment. So this rate is also very down in cases where chief justice also sits on the benches. So what is the way forward? So the first point in this, there should be exploring the alternatives of judicial majoritarianism. What should be the alternative to this particular not very equal way of arriving at the decisions? So author is suggesting super majority decision, this concept. So what does it mean? This particular decision will require more than a simple majority for a decision making, like 6-3, 7-2, 8-1, or maybe 9-0. So only such majority decision should be considered to arrive at the particular verdict. Otherwise there should be a mechanism जहाँ पे अगर एकदम very thin majority है, तो वहाँ पे हम आएंगे ही नहीं जल्दी डिसीजन पे, और फिर से या बेंच चेंज करके या बेंच बढ़ा के there should be reconsideration of the verdict. Next point, panel majority decision, using smaller panels with an odd number of judges for case decisions throughout the majority voting. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे वो बात बोल रहा है कि भाई मैथमेटिक्स लगा रहा है सीधा यहाँ पे कि एक साथ बड़े जजेस को बिठाओ, थिन मेजोरिटी बने, इससे अच्छा छोटे छोटे जजेस बना लो, उनके ओपिनियन लेके आओ, एंड देन ट्राई टू अराइव एट अ डिसीजन, वहां से और लॉजिकल वे निकलेगा. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट इज वेटेज ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ मेजोरिटी. ठीक है, considering the experience of the senior judges or the representation of the popular opinion by the junior judges. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे वो क्या बोल रहा है कि मेजोरिटी के बेसिस पे वेटेज देने के बजाय आप सीनियोरिटी या उनके एक्सपीरियंस को भी कंसिडर कर सकते हो while arriving at the decision. Okay, final system was explore the system proposed by Ronald Dworkin, giving a greater weightage to the votes of the senior judges or junior judges representing popular opinion. ठीक है, तो इसमें ये बात कर रहा है कि जैसे अगर कोई जज किसी डिसीजन पे आया है बेस्ड ऑन पॉपुलर ओपिनियन, तो उनको वेटेज कम मिलना चाहिए. इस तरह से मैथमेटिकल सिस्टम बना दो जिसमें उनको वेटेज कम मिले, और जो सीनियर मोस्ट जज है या सीनियर जज है उनके वर्डिक्ट में वेटेज को उनके वर्डिक्ट को ज़्यादा वेटेज मिले इन द फाइनल डिसीजन. फाइनल वर्डिक्ट, ठीक है. So these are the 4 ways. Next is again better analysis of the workings of the Supreme Court. Okay, so they are saying ki we should critically examine the premises and the rationales behind arriving at the decision of judicial decision making. So we should consider every decision, we should critically analyze every such constitutional bench's decisions, and then we should address the lack of critical discourse on judicial majoritarianism in अंडरस्टैंडिंग द फंक्शनिंग ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट. इस पे भी हमें कुछ रिसर्च करना चाहिए, क्रिटिकल डिस्कोर्स होना चाहिए कि वाई पीपल आर नॉट अगेंस्ट दिस पर्टिकुलर प्रैक्टिस ऑफ जुडिशियल मेजोरिटेरियनिज्म, वाई दे आर कॉम्प्लाइंग विद दिस गाइडलाइन, ठीक है. नेक्स्ट इज they should identify the gaps and questioning the foundation of head counting in judicial decision making. तो use this keyword head counting in decision making. It's like you are arriving, कितने लोग कर रहे हैं 1 2 3 4, ओके, हेड काउंट कर लिया. दिस पर्टिकुलर कॉन्सेप्ट शुड बी स्टडीड वेल, एंड इसमें क्या गैप्स हो सकते हैं, कैसे इसको और एनरिच किया जा सकता है, दिस शुड बी स्टडीड, ठीक है. नेक्स्ट वे इज, सो दिस इज द वे फॉरवर्ड ओनली, ओके, यहाँ पे वे फॉरवर्ड ही आएगा. रिफ्लेक्शन ऑन पेंडिंग कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मैटर्स, ठीक है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बेंच मैटर्स. तो यहाँ पे अब जो पेंडिंग मैटर्स हैं फ्यूचर में, उसमें इस एस्पेक्ट का, जुडिशियल मेजोरिटेरियनिज्म एस्पेक्ट का ध्यान रखा जाना चाहिए. एंड द केसेस विच आर बीइंग हर्ड एंड जजमेंट इज गेटिंग रिजर्व्ड ऑन सच केसेस. तो यहाँ पे आप एक फैक्टर इसको भी करो कि भाई कहीं सिर्फ और सिर्फ थिन मेजोरिटी या मेजोरिटेरियनिज्म की वजह से हम इस डिसीजन पे तो नहीं आ रहे, इसके फैक्ट्स एंड मैटर पे अच्छे से जाना चाहिए. उसके जो भी प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ नेचुरल जस्टिस को और कैसे बेहतर तरीके से हम लागू करते हुए फाइनल डिसीजन पे आए, उस पर ज़्यादा फोकस होना चाहिए, ना कि मेजोरिटी पे. नेक्स्ट इज क्वेश्चनिंग द रैशनल बिहाइंड द जुडिशियल मेजोरिटेरियनिज्म, ठीक है. वी शुड अंडरलाइंग चैलेंज अजम्पशंस जो है कि भाई ये पर्टिकुलर मेजोरिटी रूल इज वेरी गुड एट अराइविंग द डिसीजन. वी शुड चैलेंज दिस एस्पेक्ट मोर एंड मोर so that alternatives can be suggested and we can arrive at further, we can evolve further. And justification supporting the head counting and judicial decision making to explore the alternative approaches. तो वही बात कर रहा है कि भाई आप जितना ज़्यादा हो सके इस कॉन्सेप्ट को ही चैलेंज करो, तभी आप एक और बेटर वे पे आ पाओगे टू अराइव एट अ पर्टिकुलर डिसीजन दैट इज इन लार्जर इंटरेस्ट. तो फाइनल वर्ड शुड बी लैक ऑफ critical discourse and on judicial majoritarianism is a major knowledge gap in understanding the functioning of the Supreme Court. कि भाई सुप्रीम कोर्ट किस तरह से काम कर रहा है, critical discourse और ज़्यादा होना चाहिए. Supreme Court and the group of judges should be more open to such debates कि whether this particular way of arriving at the decision is good or not. Then reflection on the arguments of the judicial majoritarianism is essential for pending constitutional benches cases. ठीक है, तो इस पे और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा डिबेट होनी चाहिए. दैट इज फाइनल वर्ड. सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट दिस पर्टिकुलर जुडिशियल मेजोरिटेरियनिज्म इशू. Like, share and subscribe. If you please provide your feedback in the comment section, and if you like more of such videos, you can suggest the issues which you want to be covered for mains 2023 or maybe next year. Okay, thank you and have a nice day.